Forget gurus. Forget anyone claiming to be an online business expert without going through the challenges of entrepreneurship themselves. The Real Money, Real Business podcast is here to prove the best insights in online business comes from your fellow online business builders. We dig into stories of entrepreneurs selling their business on the Empire Flippers marketplace so that you can learn how they made their business profitable, how they overcame obstacles, and what lessons they learned in their online journey. If you want to take your business and your knowledge to the next level, you've come to the right podcast. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Real Money, Real Business podcast. We record these interviews so potential buyers have more information about the seller and the business to help them make a buying decision. And before we dive in today's interview, let's go over a brief summary of the business. It is an affiliate, Amazon Associates, and display advertising business created in August 2020 in the survival and security niche. The average monthly revenue for the business is $3,602, and it makes an average of $3,505 per month in net profit. The assets included in the sale are the domain and all site contents and files, an additional domain, a 301 redirect, and a variety of social media accounts. For everyone listening, you can visit empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing 57596 to learn more about the business, or you can unlock the listing to start your due diligence if you're interested in purchasing this asset. So that's a very brief overview of the business. Let's hear from the seller. Now, I've got him on the show. Welcome to the show, Kyle. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing great, Vinny. Thanks for having me.
That's awesome. Let's kickstart this off. Can you share with me what your background is in building or running online businesses?
Yeah, so I've been working, online now for about the past 5 years. I started with drop shipping. So that was kind of my first venture into the online world, marketing. And then once I started with drop shipping, after a couple of years, I kind of started getting into SEO and SEO for drop shipping. And then one thing led to the other. And I became basically much more interested in the affiliate SEO side of things. So then I started becoming actually that kind of what led to another, And then I became an SEO manager for a couple of companies. And that's where I get the bulk of my experience from.
That's awesome. I think a lot of people can resonate with your background as well. Dropshipping has a really low barrier to entry, so that makes sense that might be your starting point. While you were skilling up in online businesses, SEO and affiliate sites, were there anyone or any resources who kind of really inspired you or just gave you that you found really helpful when you were learning?
Yeah, so basically, especially for affiliate marketing, it was the Affiliate Lab by Matt Diggity and Jay Yap. So that was like the big one. And then also because right now I'm actually living in Thailand. So there's a lot of SEOs in Thailand. I actually came here about 2 years ago to come to the Chiang Mai SEO conference. So just kind of getting involved with the community and learning from the courses and kind of implementing a lot of things, that was like the biggest help, I would say. But also like having the friend group or the community of other SEOs that are kind of doing the same thing to be able to ask questions as well. My neighbor here in Thailand right now is an SEO as well. He's got multiple websites, so it's good to kind of learn from others.
That makes sense. Yeah, Thailand definitely seems to be the place where all the SEOs flock. So I think you're in the right place if you want to be around that community. I wanted to ask you for this particular business then, how did you come up with the idea to start it?
I'm doing SEO full time. So when I'm not doing affiliate SEO, I'm also doing a freelancer on Upwork. So this is my job full time. So with that, I'm very interested, right? I'm looking at different niches, looking at different marketplaces and so on. So I actually found, I was a guy who was selling it, I think, on one of the small Facebook groups. I just seen that's where I got the idea from the niche. And I thought it was pretty interesting. The website was much smaller at the time, but it just kind of gave me the idea. And then after I did some more research, I realized, there could be actually a big opportunity here. So that was how I came across it. Just mostly niche research though. Just being involved.
I noticed, as we were going through the summary of your business, it's monetized in a few different ways. Can you briefly share with our listeners, how does the business primarily make money?
Yeah, so the primary source of revenue basically is through a couple different affiliate networks. And then second to that is through Amazon for certain products that can't be sold, or maybe they just convert a little bit better on Amazon. So the second one would be Amazon. And then third is it makes a little bit of money from display advertising.
Got it. Makes sense. So you have scaled this site to a really respectable size, especially in, just over, I guess, less than an 18-month period. So our listeners will be wondering why you're selling the business right now instead of keeping it or growing it.
Yeah, so I would like the money basically for other businesses. And also, I kind of have like the shiny object syndrome. Like, I like to start things. I'm not very good at sticking with something long term. Like, I already have other business, like other websites, other things that other ventures that I would like to put the capital towards, basically. The fun part to me is finding the niche, building it up, and kind of getting to that stage. That's the most exciting part for me. And I want to keep focusing on that.
That makes sense. I think a lot of other people in our space share a similar passion, of finding things and starting it and growing it, but not necessarily scaling it to, like really big levels. So it makes sense that you'd want the capital to work on other stuff. I just want to tap into the operations side of your business now. When you were building it, did you find any sort of strategies that just particularly worked for you?
Not so much, like because I got the domain, it was an aged domain. So it's like repurposed basically. So it was already very strong. So it was already like DR, say 46, for example, had great backlinks. So a lot of the link building, the strength was already taken care of. So basically it was just my job to just feed it with content, right? So obviously making sure that the content was all SEO optimized. Everything is done with a lot of attention with various tools as well, like Surfer SEO is one. So if it's about tools and the actual content on page, Surfer SEO was like a big help to make sure that everything was optimized correctly.
Okay, yeah, Surfer SEO is pretty good. Was there any other sort of software or tools that sort of really helped you when you were growing the business?
No, just the standard is just Ahrefs and Surfer, basically. What I can think is that, yeah, that's most of it.
Makes sense. Was there anything that you tried with the business that didn't give you the ROI you're looking for?
If you look at the website, there's a set of keywords and kind of topics that I thought they were like really low competition and I thought going to convert. They were selling a particular product and I thought they were going to convert much better than they did. So in the beginning, I spent like a lot of time focusing on that kind of content. And obviously when you're writing content, you need to wait for it to rank to figure out how it's going to convert. So I kind of spent a little bit too much time on that, where writing content that didn't actually convert. So then from there, I was like, okay, I stopped writing those articles essentially on those particular topics. Like at the time, I started playing with some other ones as well, to kind of playing with some other topics to see how they would convert.
Yeah, that makes sense. I just want to ask you then, sort of, when you're maintaining the business, can you briefly describe what type of work you do on a day-to-day or a weekly basis?
Yeah, so now all the content essentially has been written. So that's where most of the time was in the beginning, but now it's basically done. So now already there's about 27 or 28 articles that are, I wanted to make sure that everything was set so I didn't have to worry about it anymore. So all the articles are done, basically, so there's another 28. So at this point now, it's just about publishing, I would say about maybe 2 to 4 per month. And all that's like a one-time a month thing that I do it. I don't do it over a weekly span anymore. So just hitting the publish button and then adding some internal links, whatever it takes, say an hour. That would be like on a monthly basis. And then on a daily basis, I'm always in there. I just basically am checking analytics and then checking just to make sure that everything is converting accordingly. So just looking at earnings, essentially, analytics and earnings. And then, of course, there's like some once a week, I would say, updating plugins. And then again, maybe once a month, depending on the content, I might update a couple of articles. But that's most of it, yeah.
Got it. Yeah. Speaking of analytics, I noticed on your listing page that the majority of the traffic is generated from organic, right?
That's right. I think it's like 98%. That's my focus. That's what I'm good at, is organic. That's what I'm most comfortable with.
Got it. Can you briefly describe how is that organic traffic generated then?
A couple hundred articles now that are ranking within Google search. So that's where the traffic is coming from. Just high rankings, essentially. There's many pages that are ranking on page 1 and top 5 and even number 1. So it's all through Google organic.
Got it. Right. So it's basically mainly through the articles and the blog.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. So is there anything that you currently do in terms of like active marketing for the business right now?
No. Now that the content's written, no. Just that's it.
Yeah, sure. I think that's the nature of content sites, right? Once you hit publish, then it's basically out there in the wild and it's pretty hands off because it just sort of generates that inbound traffic without any, tending to.
And that was the big appeal to the business model in general, right? That's one of the reasons why I switched from dropshipping to just focus 100% on affiliate or just content sites in general. I just thought it was the most passive form of income, which appealed to me the most.
Yeah, that makes sense. For the new buyer then, who's interested in acquiring your business, what would you say are some of the skills necessary to be successful with this one?
I mean, to maintain this website as it is, the skill that I would say is just writing content. So writing a couple articles. Now, of course, there's already, you have a few months to figure it out, right? Because there's already articles on draft that is ready for the seller to make it really convenient. But I would say, writing content, that's really all you need because the domain itself is very strong. It's one of the stronger ones within the niche, right? So backlinks, I don't see as being such a problem. So I would just say focusing on, SEO content if you want to continue to grow it. And then a little bit of analytics and stuff, but that stuff is pretty straightforward for the most part.
That's good to know. Sure. If you were to keep the business, what are some ways that you would try to grow it?
Me personally, I would focus on what I'm good at, and that would just be just writing more content, because all the content that's getting written and then published within I would say about 45 days, you'll see it starting to rank and generate traffic. 30 to 45 days. So it's pretty quick turnaround time, and it's ranking pretty fast. So each one of those articles has the potential of making, obviously more money, especially if it's money pages. So that's where I would focus my time, because I know it works, right? Now, that being said, the website has a lot of room for improvement if you're good at other things. Say, for example, if you are good at email marketing, there's no email list. The site gets plenty of traffic. So setting up something like that, that's not something I would focus on, because it's not my area of expertise. But for sure, that's like an opportunity there. Yeah, that would be the big one there. Also looking at different ad networks. Right now, the current ad network that I'm using is not paying so great. I know the niche probably doesn't have such a good RPM in terms of ads, but it would be worth exploring some other ad networks, just maybe having a conversation with them and seeing if you can kind of increase that. That's something I did. One last thing as well is just a quick win is going to maybe potentially looking for other affiliate programs with a higher commission, or try to spend a little bit more time negotiating for higher commission. I did this, but I didn't try so hard, and I ended up getting a little bit of a bump, but I'm sure you could probably squeeze them for a little bit more, especially now that the site, is continuing to grow.
I think that's a really good tip there, especially if you had a long-standing relationship with a particular affiliate, network, and you're driving quite a lot of sales. I think you do have room to, like you say, negotiate, a bit of wiggle room there. So that's definitely worth exploring. I want to ask you then, what do you think are the biggest risks with this business that a buyer should be aware of?
It's the Google updates, right? That's kind of the biggest risk to all SEOs in general. I would just say the Google updates. So I put a lot of attention to do my best to try to future proof it against a lot of the algorithm and a lot of the big updates, but there's no guarantees, right? In the future, things are always changing. So that would be the biggest one.
Yeah, that makes sense. Just last few questions from me then as we round off this interview. How much support are you willing to offer buyers?
I can't remember what I listed in there, but basically, email support, if you want to set up a call, weekly call or monthly call, I'm definitely open to that. So I want to make the transition as easy as possible. So yeah.
That's great to hear. Are you willing to commit to a non-compete?
Yeah, of course.
Mm-hmm. And are you open to something like an earnout?
I would prefer cash up front, of course, right? Who doesn't want cash now? So I definitely prefer cash up front, but it's not going to be a hard no. I am open to some negotiation, but of course, cash now is always ideal.
Okay, good to know. Last question from me then. If you put yourself in the shoes of a buyer, why would you say this is a business worth buying?
Well, if you look at the current trend of actually the earnings and the traffic and all the rest of it, I would say that all you'd have to do is basically hold on to it and publish the articles. You could hold on to it for another 6 to 8 months, just publish the current articles that are there. You wouldn't have to do any additional work, just make sure that, at least just maintain their current form. It doesn't even have to continue to go up, and you'd be able to flip it, say in another 6 to 12 months again for a good return. So that to me is kind of a no-brainer. It's a great asset, it has great PR, there's been a lot of work done to it. So I think, yeah, those are my thoughts.
Okay. And is there anything you'd like to add that you think I might have missed?
No, I think we're good. And the only thing that I would say is just that I put a lot of focus on this website to making sure that it is talking about the updates basically, right? So it has, the speed is good, right? The core web vitals, all these things are good, which is what Google is focusing on. I also put a lot of attention into not just focusing on review content, but I put a lot of informational content there as well to make it as more of a brand, trying to build more of a brand instead of just being another affiliate site. So I would say I definitely took care of it. It wasn't something that I was planning to flip in the beginning. It just so happens now that I realize I would like to move on and focus on some other things.
Yeah, it makes sense. So sounds like you've obviously put a lot of time and effort and resources into building this as a brand as opposed to just a content site. And we're hoping we can find the right buyer to acquire this business from you. So looking forward to seeing you sell your site.
Awesome. I appreciate the time, Vinny.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. To learn more and see if this listing has already been sold, head over to empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing number 57596. If you're watching this on YouTube, click the link in the description to go straight to the listing. And once you've unlocked the listing, you'll be given everything you need to know about this business. So until next time, enjoy your digital journey.